Production funding for Arts Upload has been provided in part by Francis Family Foundation, Hall Family Foundation, the H&R Block Foundation, Courtney S. Turner Charitable Trust, John W. and FEE Spies Memorial Trust, Muriel McBrien Kaufman Foundation, and viewers like you. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Randy Mason.
And I'm Maris Aylward.
On this edition of Arts Upload, the beautiful Hotel Phillips is our co-star.
Plus the awesome beauty of nature with photographer Stephen Locke.
Some serious dance training with the Kansas School for Classical Ballet.
And one Irishman's favorite fountain. All ahead on the Upload. Stories take amazing turns. For example, Juan Trujillo's.
Juan grew up in Colombia, somehow found his way to a ballet school there, landed in the U.S., eventually made his way to Kansas City, where he and his wife, Stephanie Shrimp, danced with the Kansas City Ballet.
Fast forward a few more years, and you find this creative couple working from a storefront in downtown Overland Park.
That's where the Kansas School for Classical Ballet teaches young dancers not just the steps, but also all the hard work and discipline that the art requires.
These kids, some of them come 2 hours before class even starts. And not because their moms are like, oh, I need to go somewhere else, I gotta drop you off early, but because they want to be here, they're dedicated.
Now we're gonna do it together, though, so Nigel has to keep up.
And 3, quicker legs, and close, 4. I just think Juan and Stephanie attract people who really want to come here and work. It's not necessarily a social outlet for them. I mean, they can do social outlet elsewhere.
Slow, allow the machine to help you to feel the muscles.
What they won't find anywhere nearby, at least, is an array of Pilates and gyrotonic machines like this. Pretty as sculptures, designed to help dancers and regular folks alike rehab injuries and gain better body control. The couple had already been using some in a small business based out of their home. Until about 5 years ago, they decided to up the ante and open a school of their own. Stephanie remembers the first time they spotted this somewhat unexpected location.
We drove into downtown Overland Park. There was one parking spot, and it was right outside this building, and a big sign that said, "For sale." And we peeked in the window, and at that point we didn't realize how big the space was or what it could potentially turn into.
One of the things I always said is that I could never teach for recreational purpose. So if we were going to get involved in a ballet school, I wanted the ballet school to be professional. So this is not a favor, this is not about finances, it is about art. And if the kids are good, they're moved up. If they're not good, they have to stay where they are. We have parents that have been with us since we started the school, and they see this progress in their kids, and they're fascinated by it. How serious the kids are taking what they do, even though that they're very young. How what we teach them here in the classroom, they're able to take it into everyday activities.
We've had many years teaching experience, and over those years we kind of developed this process that we feel really works for the kids. It's a real tough love situation. They know we love them and care about them and want them to be their best, but we expect them to work at 100% all the time, with the exception of if they're injured or sick or having a bad day. One of the benefits of being a dancer and having had so many ailments, pains, and aches is I can relate to almost everything someone says. A child comes to me and says, my tendon is really sore. I know exactly how they're feeling, and I sometimes can help them to feel better.
Now offering 6 levels of instruction in a complex that's larger than it looks from outside, it's hard to believe the KSCB started with only 3 students enrolled.
When they opened up, we came here, we followed them over, and haven't looked back.
Julie Horton's oldest son, Riley, was one of that original trio. He's now studying and working with the Houston Ballet. At 15, her younger son, Connor, aspires to do much the same.
This is maybe where we spend more of our waking hours than we do at our house. We're very grateful. I don't think every ballet school feels like family, but this really does.
It's a family where language isn't much of a barrier. Like many Colombian kids, Juan grew up amidst great poverty. He credits Inco Ballet, the school he attended in Cali, with literally changing his life. So now each summer, students from South America arrive in Johnson County to spend several weeks taking classes and training on the kind of equipment they might not otherwise have access to.
He was in their shoes, and look where he is now, and look at our studio, and look at his career, and it gives them inspiration that maybe they can do that too.
It's the best part of the summer when the Colombians come and they have no idea what I'm saying and I have no idea what they're saying. But you know, that's the great thing about dance, is that you don't necessarily have to talk.
Ay, ay, ay. Traffic problems here.
It transforms this studio into something different, which is what I think is so special about it for our home kids. You know, this studio becomes an international dance studio. It's an amazing experience. It really is.
Every year, more and more kids from Colombia have been able to participate. But Monica Guerrero has been involved all along. She's known Juan for decades. Now her duties include both training the school's instructors and fine-tuning its curriculum.
Every time I come, I learn something, and I'm always learning something from him. He thinks that I'm giving something to the school, but I think the other way.
Let's do plie as we close, so don't close first plie.
Juan is looking for those boys and girls who have great opportunities in their bodies, but they don't have the opportunities economically.
That's totally true with him. If it was up to Juan, everyone would go free. So yeah, that's really would be his goal.
In fact, 30% of the Kansas School of Classical Ballet's students attend on scholarship. Juan calls it giving back. That also describes Let's Move, a new project recently undertaken with KVC hospitals. It brings basic dance training to troubled youths at a residential treatment facility in KCK.
You know, they're excited for something new, and it's a place for them to get away from the chaos that they're in. To walk in there and be able to just not think about anything else for a little while, but how to move my body and what's going on.
When you're there, you see these kids smiling, you see these kids playing, being creative, feeling comfortable in their own skin. To be able, as a person, to provide that, it is a privilege.
Community support has nurtured this program specifically, and the school's quest for excellence in general. But it's hard to picture so much growth in such a short time if it weren't for the creative couple at its core.
As much as I'm saying that we've been for 20 years together, I actually think if we were an average couple, we've been together for 40, right? Because we live together, we work together, everything has been together. But she's an incredible partner. I think that she's one of the best teachers I know. She's a very smart lady. She married right.
Stephen Locke knows exactly where and when he first got that storm-chasing bug.
It was 1989, and he was photographing a thunderstorm rolling across the Flint Hills.
26 years later, he's still obsessed with the power and beauty of weather systems.
So much so that Locke spends more than 6 months a year pursuing supercells, from which he creates magnificent time-lapse videos.
Producer-videographer Julie Denichet traveled to home Kansas with him to chase a late summer thunderstorm.
One of the things that's beautiful in this world, one of these things as humans that we find beautiful is power, great power. And thunderstorms have great power. So as we watch a thunderstorm coming across the plains, the rain is falling and that's nurturing the soil and the crops. But at the same time, you have torrential rain and destructive hail and deadly lightning. So when you're watching a supercell thunderstorm, with or without a tornado, you're watching the act of creation and destruction simultaneously. Storms, of course, are very dramatic and very exciting, especially on the Great Plains. Oklahoma, Kansas, Nebraska, those center states right through the middle of the country. These have the strongest storms in the world. Well, the season is generally springtime into early summer. That's when the atmosphere is most volatile and capable of producing supercell thunderstorms. The first thing I do when I get up in the morning is forecast. There's some basic data that I look at. I try to give myself a sense of what the atmosphere looks like 10 days out, 5 days out, 3 days out. Severe storm forecasting is just a tool to get you into close proximity of the storm. Ultimately, my purpose in being there is art.
But I bet you this may be the storm that moves into Kansas.
All good. Relax. Still grip the wheel, It's a little tense.
When you're in chase mode and you're watching these storms develop, you're in a hurry. A lot of times I don't get to fully enjoy the storm till later on when I look at those images or look at Stephen's time lapse.
You have to work quickly, and it is difficult to compose the image quickly, particularly because you're driving into a landscape that you've never looked at before. You don't know what's over the next horizon, and the storm is evolving rapidly, and so you have to jump out now and make it happen.
Scud rising everywhere.
Yeah. This is the updraft region of the storm. Sometimes I'm lucky, you know, I've been oftentimes looking for a spot to shoot a storm, and then there'll just be this cute little abandoned building. A gift from the universe that I pull up and put that into my shot. I like for myself and for my viewers to see how the storm evolves. I want people to be able to look at my time-lapse movies and look at that and say, yeah, I can see how a supercell moves.
There are chases we go on where, you know, it might be a cap bust. You know, the storms just don't develop. Everything looks good, the ingredients are there. Sometimes it just doesn't happen, but when it does, it's very rewarding.
Oh, wow. Check that out. That actually looks really nice.
There's a lot of work in what Stephen does. It's amazing to watch him set up 2-3 cameras. You know, he's got a few different things he uses and gets his tripods out.
I was initially disappointed in the structure of that storm, and at the time I was shooting it, I really didn't feel good about what I had, but when I got back and looked at the images and the time-lapse on the computer screen, I actually was pretty impressed with the quality of the light coming from the sunset. We had that warm alpenglow, that warm, sweet light, and the storm has got enough movement and enough gorgeous light that I think it's actually a nice time-lapse. For years, I had always wanted to shoot a shelf cloud coming over the downtown area. So for many years, I've been running down to Liberty Memorial to shoot storms coming over the city. I remember wondering, should I go, should I not go? And it turned out to be a really beautiful storm. And that was a storm that impacted a lot of people in the metro area because, you know, it was one of those busy Friday nights where everybody's out on the town and everyone's watching this very scary cloud come over the city. I love supercell thunderstorms. Nothing gets me present the way a supercell thunderstorm does. And in fact, I can remember, you know, some of the very, very earliest experiences I would have in the middle of nowhere with thunderstorms at night. You know, I'm having this euphoric spiritual experience. You know, over time I've learned that just means that you're absolutely present. The past dissolves, the future dissolves, and you're absolutely present with what is.
Okay, sometimes storms drop a lot of water. Water goes into our fountains. See where I might be going with this?
I think I do. Another edition of my favorite fountain, perhaps?
Yep, this one features PR guy extraordinaire Pat O'Neill, who, by the way, just had his book, The Irish in Kansas City, go into its second printing.
Pat, a couple of his grandkids, and producer-videographer Dave Burkhardt found a garden of fountains that many of us might have missed altogether.
This is my favorite fountain at the Stowers Institute. It's actually a cluster of fountains and a bit of statuary as well. So it's art, it's garden, it's peaceful, it's nice. This is my favorite fountain because it's my grandkids' favorite fountain, and they love it because they can wander around. It's kind of like almost a little bit of a maze, you know, between the different fountains. And like I say, it's a calm, peaceful, cool place. It's just a great place to relax and watch the kids run around. And again, remember when you were that age and you could run around like that. Even though it's between two busy streets, the water kind of drowns out the traffic. And again, there's a nice breeze that comes through here. And it's just peaceful. It's just peaceful. And not only, you know, do we have the fountains here at the Stowers Institute, but you have, you know, really nice landscaping. It's real subtle. It's relaxing. It's cool. It's nice. Like I said, it's kind of cathartic. This is the entryway to the Rock Hill neighborhood. This is always kind of acclaimed as the great bridge that Rock Hill Nelson built, and the entry into the neighborhood, and it's only gotten better. With the City of Fountains Foundation, which we're in the process of Wish Upon a Fountain campaign to raise money for a number of the municipal fountains that have fallen into disrepair, simply from like lack of regular maintenance because budgets were cut, you know, in the last 10 years through the recession. And in the meantime, the Stowers Institute and a lot of other private businesses and corporations around the city and in the suburbs use their own maintenance staff and their own dollars to not just build these fountains, but take care of them. And you know, you have to be thankful for that.
There's quite a bit of history and some beautiful Art Deco details throughout this piece of 12th Street real estate.
A certain former president ran a haberdashery just over there. And this was also the first hotel in Kansas City to have radio receivers in each room.
These days, the Hotel Phillips has something else that's pretty rare. An actual artist in residence. They've housed painters, a sketch artist, a fiber artist. There's even a guest suite upstairs that one of them did a makeover on.
Their fifth AIR, sculptor Megan Gallant, just started on the job September 1st. She says she'll have her studio door open often. It's a very cool way that the hotel supports the arts here in town.
As for music, they've got that going too at the 12 Baltimore Club, which features acoustic Thursdays and lots of good jazz on the weekends.
Now here on Arts Upload, we also like to share with you some of the things going on around the country, like the Funk Jams in Las Vegas.
It's a late-night improv session on the Strip in Sin City, where talented players drop in for the express purpose of funking it up.
My name is AJ. I'm a bass player. I host the Funk Jam.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Funk 2-year anniversary.
Originally, I'm from Mobile, Alabama. I started playing in church. My dad was a minister, so it was a house rule. If you lived in his house, you had to go to church. And providing that was a rule, I might as well play if I was going to go to church, because otherwise I'd fall asleep. Gospel music is so intricate. Some of the parts are just so advanced, you know, and me doing that at 14, 15 years old, it prepared me for something that a lot of people just are never prepared for as a musician. The Funk Jam is an all improvisational mesh of the most talented musicians that you can find in Vegas. The Funk Jam is every Wednesday night after 11 p.m. We start after 11 because a lot of the guys have earlier, you know, gigs, and a lot of the people who work here work in shows that don't get out till 10:30, 10, 11. Without using profanity, they're the baddest in town. So the musicianship here couldn't get any better.
my regular job is to play drums with Pen-Up, the show, at the Stratosphere.
I'm doing the Human Nature show at the Venetian.
And I'm playing a show in Rio called MJ Live.
How the Funk Jam works is the night originates with the core band, and then after that we do like an all-star jam with different, guys who we know in the community that we love. And the last set, we do let first-timers get up and play. The reason it's special to be able to do what we do is because it's instant composition. We're creating music on the spot versus memorizing a song that has already been done. And the part that's entertaining to everybody that people love is to watch the communication on the stage in order to create that, because you have to really pay attention to what the next guy's playing to create this.
The Funk Jam allows me to be a lot more free than I am able to be on any other gig or show I play. It's like recess for a child. I get to break loose and just run.
The inspiration moves. It moves from person to person. For example, one guy might start doing something really, really cool, and we start doing that. And then another guy starts doing something really, really cool, we follow that. And the next thing, we're all just changing shapes and forms.
You're allowed to be you up there on stage. And that's what's so cool, is that you can just be yourself and let it shine, and people dig that.
Emotionally, it's just a release. As primal as you could describe it, it allows you also to be creative and to be a little more than you get to be on a regular basis.
It's a happy thing. It's not competitive. It's not like a cutting contest.
We just recently celebrated our 2-year anniversary. That milestone was really important to me because it was really a victory. It was an accomplishment. It was a message to the community that you have been a part of something that has continued this long. And it was also a message to some of the people who might not have gotten involved yet that Vegas, nothing goes on and lasts 2 years and it's really good.
And musicians that have played with everyone around the world, they come here because this is where they want to come, to just let go. The music that happens here is just incredibly unique and rare, and I have felt very lucky to be a part of the Funk Jam.
What drives me to funk music is the groove. You can dance to funk. I'd love to see people react to it. I love it when somebody came to watch and they really think they're watching, but they're doing this and they don't even realize it. People from the audience come up to me and say a number of things. And one of my favorite compliments is, you guys are freaking awesome. That's one of my favorite ones, because everybody knows that the musicians on the stage individually are great, but it shows a camaraderie and a cohesiveness that has gelled, and it's been pushed at them as one entity. There was a couple that came, and I sat down and talked to them. And they were told by people in their hotel to come here, and they stayed until the jam was over. They were blown away. They're jazz lovers. So anybody who loves any kind of music like that is gonna absolutely love the funk.
Sometimes it feels so natural. Sometimes it feels so right.
It almost doesn't matter what you're going through in your life. Playing music is very therapeutic. You can go pick up that instrument or play that instrument, and it's all good after that. The magic of the Funk Jam is this universal love for what we're all doing and this universal appreciation for what we're doing from the audience. So people that happy, watching people that happy, can't help but be happy themselves. Without a doubt, the people that come to Vegas, you should be at the Funk Jam. Your soul needs it.
Of course, Kansas City has its own long-standing late-night jamming tradition. Sometime we'll head over to the Mutual Musicians Foundation, show you what goes on over there.
But now we have to check out of the Hotel Phillips and start work on next week's show, which will feature, among other things, the Chalk and Walk Festival.
Till then, I'm Randy Mason.
And I'm Maris Aylward. Thanks for watching.
Production funding for Arts Upload has been provided in part by Francis Family Foundation, Hall Family Foundation, the H&R Block Foundation, Courtney S. Turner Charitable Trust, John W. and FEE Spies Memorial Trust, Muriel McBrien Kaufman Foundation, and viewers like you. Thank you.